Just do what I do.
Today, we're gonna do it again. This time, team battle. Me and Miss Cecilia, CJ and
I
Priscilla.
chose CJ because he won last time.
Yeah, she wants to have the easy team.
She wants to be a winner. What can I say? She wants to be a winner.
Okay, we're gonna go to this corner. See you guys.
Hey, don't drink my coffee.
We're going to my winner's corner. That's where we're going. Why are you saying winner gets to choose your corner?
Whatever, do whatever you want.
My corner.
Cheaters never prosper.
Cheaters never prosper.
Neither do losers.
First things first, sniper. They're far away. You need to get them. Second, I'm gonna go 3-round burst. That's what we need.
All right, so I'm not gonna lie, guys. I got lucky last game.
Oh, great, CJ. Now I'm stuck with you.
Your strategy is.
My strategy is to go hide in the
So you want me to die first?
Okay, look, why don't you just do all the shooting? And I'll just cover you.
I understand.
The thing is,
I understand.
if I blend in because I'm darker, so I'll just blend in there, and then you go first,
How about
and then I go
you?
to clean up.
And I'll just cover you. I'll cover
I
you.
will start sniping, and you will stand behind me with your submachine gun.
What is that?
How about you go in there, but you go behind this black curtain and nobody can see you and snipe people from there.
Which one's a sniper?
It's all up here. They know they lost.
They know that they got.
They're scared. They're scared right now because they're like, whoa, we're gonna lose
Honestly,
again.
I'm scared. Okay.
Hey, when I say eagle, it means I'm in trouble. You need to get out here and help me. Okay? That's my key. Is eagle. All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Guys, this is the first time I'm out in the field. Last time I chose to hide and now I'm stuck with CJ.
Oh, I see them.
Playing smart as a kid.
They're on the other side. Yeah, they can. I see him. He's aiming this way. I trigger. How do you see this? This is why I lost.
Watch it.
Me against the alpha again. Get easy. He said eagle.
Corner, corner, corner. We got her, Cecilia. We got her. Yeah. Hi, Cecilia. Hi.
Steve, I'm almost dead.
I got hit. I got hit again.
I don't have a lot of life left.
No. He's out. Oh. He's out.
He's out?
He's out.
Okay. All right, guys. I don't have much juice left, but I'm gonna give it all I got.
I turned my blaster off. Sorry. Left.
Alpha out. Little eagle's going down.
Oh, she got me. Back the street. I failed the team. I failed him. Oh. Oh no.
Oh no! It's locked! Looks like we're going swimming.
That's easy.
Chose the right team after all.
Lucky twice. Lucky twice.
I'm almost dead. But I gave it all I had.
Almost is still alive.
I took one of your lives and it was the best thing ever.
You wanna come in? You injured soul?
Yeah, come in.
Second game didn't go as I hoped it did. Got him in the leg, but I think he'll
Still
survive.
victorious.
Still victory.
Still victorious.
Here's what happened. I don't want to, put excuses. We lost. But,
Sure.
But when I was shooting intensely, getting CJ and Priscilla, because I got you like 6 times, pow, I went like this, boom, and I was like, what happened?
He fell right for our trap, okay? Let's just put it that way.
Look, when you're under pressure and you're scared, you're gonna make mistakes, and that's all he did today was mistakes.
Listen,
We
they're
have a
just
lot of
jealous.
words for that.
They're just jealous that I got them both more than they got me. Because they only got me once, just so you know.
Doesn't matter how many times you make it to the finals, as long as you win that championship.
Amen.
LeBron. All right, well, hope you guys enjoyed that battle. We'll see you for the lesson. All right, bye. Hello, teens.
Welcome back.
Second Bible study of the Spanish department for the teen department for teens here. It's amazing.
Did you enjoy seeing Brother Isai lose for the second
Oh my
time?
word! This is no. It wasn't a loss.
It was a huge
It
loss.
It wasn't a
wasn't?
loss. No, it was
You
a failure.
Experience.
It's my failure. I turned it off. What was it? I turned off. I was holding the thing, and then it wasn't shooting, and then it was like, oh.
You
I
were trying
turned
to
it off.
cheat or something?
And I turned it off, and I didn't want to. I already had lost a life, so I didn't want to turn it back on and then have 3 more lives. That would have been cheating.
Yeah, but you could have just counted your life and say, okay, after
After
being
the
hit,
one
I would.
life. Yeah.
I would have not kept that in mind.
your competition,
Yeah, I would-
competitive spirit wouldn't have allowed
Even
you
if
to.
you would have shot me, I wouldn't have paid attention and been like, "Oh, sorry guys, I have one life left. That means I'm done." I wouldn't have done. I would have been running, and it was just so.
You tried.
I
You
tried.
tried.
It was-
Your
it
outfit
was,
was pretty cool.
It
No
was an
joke.
old man failure. That's
yeah,
what it was.
I was a little intimidated when I saw you walk in with the full-on
Okay.
like
I'm glad.
Navy gear,
It's great.
and I looked like I was gonna go catch Pokemon, and I was like, great. But then you ended up
failed, so-
losing,
I
and
didn't know
was
what
like,
I was
you know
going
what?
for. I went ninja mode in one of them. And
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it worked out for you.
yeah, it worked out.
Yeah, and then you kind of wanted to, in the first time, just wanted to hide,
Yeah, it was my strategy.
and it didn't work.
Well, I mean,
You still.
Yeah, you
It
got
was
out pretty
very-
fast for as long as you were
yeah,
hiding.
you were playing for like 3 minutes, and then you
yeah,
were.
everybody was coming after me. Okay.
I didn't.
It was just me. I got you out. That's it. And then you ran around, and I was hiding, and then I got you. And then when I got you, I turned around, he got, and I was like, I'm done. Oh, well,
Yeah,
that's
well.
fine. Yeah, well, it was fun though. One day, teens, whenever we get over this whole thing and we can see each other and hug each other and high five and run, we're gonna play. We
Yeah.
are gonna play, and we might even
We will.
record it, but.
So next game's gonna be fun.
Next game's gonna be awesome. We have it already planned out. And what? Give us a preview of it.
A preview.
Oh, it's a hint. Not
hint?
really. Yeah.
So same thing except not laser guns.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect. It's gonna be awesome.
So we can
awesome.
get hurt.
yeah, it's gonna be
It's
even.
possible we may
Great.
get hurt.
It's gonna be. You might even fall, trip,
Lose an eyeball.
lose an eyeball, sweat a lot.
Brother, you say you may be leading from a wheelchair from now on.
You never know. I mean, I did that roll.
Almost broke your hip.
And my hip was hurt. I mean, and then I look back at the footage, and I'm like, that is a lame jump.
Yeah,
That was so lame. And then,
Protecting the knees.
yeah, protecting the knees. My boots are like 4 pounds and stuff. And I was like, okay, I gotta,
Gotta lift my boots.
I'm not 20 years old anymore. I'm gonna hit. I was like, okay,
You're like my hip.
my hip.
It's the dad bod.
It is.
Oh no. Yeah.
Anyways, everybody gets it.
Yeah.
Okay, but we keep same teams because why change what's?
I might
broken
add more people.
if it's not broken.
Yeah, I'm not gonna add more people.
Hmm.
I think Brother Alvarez needs to come and play, and
Wow.
Mrs. Alvarez is probably a very intense shooter.
Yeah.
I can already see her, like
So we should probably be team captains. And
Yeah.
and pick our winning team. So if we lose,
Mm.
you picked your losing team.
Kinda.
You picked your own losers.
You
Okay.
picked your own losers.
Anyway, stay tuned, teens. We'll see. You'll see what we got. Okay, so let's talk about leadership again. Last week we talked about leading yourself, and that is the first step, how you can lead yourself into spiritual life in school, with your parents, in church. Once you lead yourself, people look at you, and then they say, okay, now you can lead others. But before we talk about leading others, we want to talk about what kind of leader you're going to be, and that is determined by who you are. And the title of this lesson is Leading as the Example. And we're going to go again to Daniel and figure out why his leadership was awesome in Babylon, why he was able to lead for 80 years in Babylon and at the highest levels, right? Second in command, third in command, second in command. And it had to be because of him as a person. He himself, the example, is what made him lead so much. So look at Daniel 6:10. I think this exemplifies who he was. Now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house, and his windows being open in his chamber towards Jerusalem, he knelt upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before God as he did aforetime. If you guys remember the story, teens, this is during the time of Darius the king, and the other princes of Babylon didn't like Daniel because of who he was. And they said the only fault they could find in him was if it was against his God. So they asked the king, can we make a decree or a new writing or a law that will prevent anybody for 30 days to not ask of any God other than the king any petition. And if they do, then we'll send them into the lion's den. And that was a law specifically made to stop Daniel from praying. However, the Bible says that they knew that Daniel was not going to stop praying. And that's why they convinced the king to sign this law into effect. Once the law was signed, we get to verse 10. It says, when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, the law, he did what he always had done. He went into his chamber or to his room, opened up the windows. He wasn't ashamed of who he was, and prayed as he did aforetime. That is who Daniel was. Now you think, okay, he's a leader. He's in charge of a lot of people. Why would he disobey a law that the king had signed? And it's because of he himself, the example. He was setting an example of what a Christian or what a follower of God should be like. And because of that example, we'll see later on, if you keep reading the chapter, that he was able to lead the king into signing a decree that only people could worship the God of Daniel. I mean, you went from, you can only ask the king for anything to the only person you can worship or the only God you can worship is Jehovah God. I mean, that is huge. Why? Why did that change happen? Because Daniel led as the example, not just when it was convenient, not because the law said so, because that's what his life was. The example exemplifies what following God was. That's what we want to talk about today, how we can lead as the example. So with that in mind, you have a question for me?
I did, but
Tag.
it turned off.
Okay, so tag
Tag.
to me. Woo. Okay, so question number 1. What made Daniel disobey the writing?
I believe that Daniel disobeyed the writing because he was a man of principle, and he wasn't ashamed of who he was. And it's not about who I am, right? Christianity is not about me as an individual. It's about me being more like Christ. Right?
Your identity in Christ.
Your identity is in Christ. You are not you. You are following Christ. And the big mistake a lot of teenagers make and a lot of Christians make is that they want to be their own selves, right? That's the lie we hear from everybody. I want to be myself. I want to be unique, blah, blah, blah. And the truth is, you are unique. You are special. God made you only one of you, but he also said that we have to be like Christ, right? In Daniel's time, there was no Christ, right? There was only Jehovah God. So he wanted to be in a good relationship with God. And he knew that he had to pray like he always had done. And obviously when somebody says you can't pray to God and you know God's real and God says, I want a relationship with you, well, what do? Do you obey the law or do you obey God? And I believe Daniel decided, I'm going to obey God. I'm still going to have a relationship with God. God is the one that creates the universe, that keeps it in motion. God is the one that gave us the law, and his law is above any law that the government or the people here can write. And I know Daniel in his mind was thinking, I want to obey God. I don't want to obey the king. Yes, I will have consequences for disobeying the king in this law, but I would rather have a good relationship with God than a good relationship with the king or the people here on the earth. And that is what his example was. He just wanted to be right with God. And that's why he disobeyed the writing. Not because it was right to disobey the writing, but because it's right to be right with God.
Right.
Many rights.
And that can go back to how we were talking about authority, how when it's okay to disobey authority.
Correct, yeah.
You know, yeah, that's good. Are you? Is your
Oh,
questions,
wait,
are your
hold
questions
on. Let
ready?
me unlock. Okay. Question number 2.
Yeah, too.
What was Daniel's life showing at this moment?
He was showing what everybody already knew of him. Now, if you remember, if you read the passage, everybody knew that Daniel was going to do this no matter if the law was signed or it wasn't signed. Their whole goal was to kill Daniel, right? So they made a law that they knew that Daniel would not follow. So what was he showing? He was showing that it doesn't matter what kind of laws there, what kind of pressure I'm going to have, what opposition I'm going to have, I'm going to do what's right. He was showing that. He was showing I will stand with this as the example. This is what a follower of God does, follows God. Put pressure on me, it's fine. I'm still going to follow God. It's like nowadays, right? What are we going to do when the governor says, hey, you can't meet, you can't sing, churches are a breeding ground for this virus, and we take into consideration, right, health, right? We do have a big congregation. Everybody comes in, and now, let's say 1,000 people get infected at church. That's something that obviously as a church we think, but what has God told us to do? Meet, right? So we are going to meet, and we're going to get together, and we have to worship God together because that's what the Bible has told us to do. So at some point, you look at health, you look at the governors, at the laws, or whatever it is, but at some point you say, hey, I need to do what God tells me to do. And that's the example that Daniel was showing. He was showing that I'm going to do what God tells me to do. And that was his base. He was leading from that base. Even like we talked last week, when he started in his Babylon trip, right? He was not going to defile himself with the king's meat because it was not in accordance to what the law was saying. So he said, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to follow God rather than man. And even later on in his life, 60 years later, whatever it is, he's in Daniel chapter 6. He's still doing the same thing. That was who he was, a person who was going to follow God no matter what. And that was the example he was showing at that moment.
Great answer.
Thank
That
you.
was perfect. My turn?
Yes.
All right, so question 3. How can this situation be applied to a teenager in today's era?
Okay, that's the wrong lesson. Next.
Sorry,
Bottom.
that's the wrong lesson. Let me try again. These typos, man.
Typos.
Number 3.
It's my fault.
How was Daniel able to lead after this?
After this, if you keep reading the story, he is the one that not convinced the king, but because of how he put his faith and trust in God, and the angel of the Lord actually delivered him, the king made a decree saying that the only God who was supposed to be worshipped is Jehovah, the God, Daniel's God. So because he had this base, this example, he led the king, even though the king was above him, into worshiping God. And he was put still as the second in command. He was able to influence everybody underneath him to follow his God, and everybody above him to follow his God. That's what's so key about this passage, is even though he was facing death for praying. Think about that. He prayed in his own house, in his own room, and they said, we're going to kill you for that. He still went into the lions, and he probably was 60, 70 years old at this time. He wasn't, like a strapping young man like CJ over here.
Right. Prime example.
Prime example. He was an old man. He could have thought to himself, I really don't want to die right now. I can't really fend off 6 lions. But he did it anyways. And because of this, he was able to lead. He was able to tell everybody, hey, you need to trust my God. Why? Because he delivered me from these lions. I don't think your God can do that. And he was like, okay, you know what? He's right. Let's follow him. Let's do what he has asked us to do. That's why, that's how Daniel was able to lead after this, because he never changed. He was always the same, and people now believed him, and they wanted to follow.
Right. And we can see that God rewards our faithfulness to him.
Sure does, yeah. I mean, let's think about it. Daniel could have died there. But that's not what God chose to do. So we don't know what God chooses to do with our lives. But even then, Daniel decided, I'm not going to bow down to the king on this decree because it's against my God. And that's what he was able to lead others, because he was the example for others. You have a question for?
A question? Okay.
Yeah.
Number 4.
Yes.
I want to make sure it's the right lesson.
Yes.
What can a teen learn from this as it pertains to leadership? Was that
Yes,
what we just
that's-
did? Okay.
Yes.
How do you view a leader that
No, that's the right
wait.
question.
That is the right question?
That was a
Yeah.
Wait, you guys looked at me like I did something wrong.
No, we said
No.
yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
we said
okay.
yes. That's the right question.
Okay. Sorry.
All right. So what can a teen learn from this?
Oh, me.
Yeah. You
well,
wanted to
okay.
chime in.
Chime in. Okay, so we see that. Okay, so in the book of Daniel, I believe, if not the Bible for sure, it says he was a man of high esteem. Right? Am I wrong?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you're right.
Okay, good. You know my
It's
Bible.
in there.
It's in there. Yes, it's a man of high esteem. So someone who's highly esteemed.
Yes.
In other words.
Okay.
You sound like the dictionary right now.
Urban
When you look up a
Dictionary.
word and it's
Urban
just like,
Dictionary. But well, I saw 4 things. We see Daniel's humility to be able to, not act out of anger, I guess you say, because I mean, even now with the governor telling us or telling churches how to worship and stuff like that, I mean, people get pretty upset.
They do.
And then maybe some people want to go on social media and rant or something because that's what everybody does now. But like for him not to act out out of anger or go protest to the king or whatever, he remained in control. He remained humble and let God take control of his emotions, his actions. We see that his reliance on God, which was important. He just let God handle that situation and still remained faithful. Still opened up the windows to his chamber and prayed, basically for the public to see that he was still praying almost. And then he was uncompromising. He doesn't allow anyone or outside to change his values in God, and that that remained true. And then we see he was courageous. I mean, that's not easy to do at all. I mean, we're over here. It's hard for us to even sometimes let other people know that we're Christian. Imagine someone to take a stand like that for God, in where a law is being placed that you're not able to pray or worship God in a certain way. And that, that's also very important to see. So what can a teen learn from this? I mean, I think we all need to be able to practice these sort of things. We need to be able to stand for what's right according to the Bible. I mean, there's nothing wrong with disobeying authority as long as it's pleasing God. As we said this time and time again, where it's not about pleasing self, it's about pleasing God. It's one or the other. If we're going to please man, then we're going to please ourselves, make people happy. Instead of pleasing God, then we're not headed the right direction. In that case, we're just waiting for our downfall. At that point, we're waiting to be devoured by the lions. And it's funny that we're talking about the lions and being devoured. I mean, you said Daniel being scared of 6 lions, hey, I don't want to die today. And still remaining faithful when King gave him a chance. He gave him a chance in the lion's den.
Yeah.
He said, hey, you have one more chance. Like, are you going to stop? And he said no. And for those of you who don't know, I do deliver mail. I'm a mailman once a week.
Amen. Amen.
And this
You're a
past,
man of many talents.
sometimes, and this past week I was delivering a package to someone's house. And it's a house where, we've had problems with because there's dogs. So I made sure, I'm like, okay, where's the dogs? They're not out here. I made noise to make sure that they could hear me. And if they came out, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to deliver it. Everything was fine. I put the package, knocked the door. I heard the dogs barking from inside the house. I head down the stairs. Out of nowhere, a Rottweiler comes charging at me. A big Rottweiler coming charging at me. And I got scared. I didn't scream. I was surprised I didn't scream. But I took off. I took off like a rocket. I did not want to get, bit in my ankles and not be able to win at laser tag.
Yeah.
Day,
Mm-hmm.
That was that same day, actually.
Oh, wow.
But, I mean, I think of myself being scared of a dog. Imagine 6 lions. What would I have done to get out of being devoured? But he remained faithful. He remained true and still served God even in a difficult situation, a life and death matter in that situation. I think teens can learn from that.
Yeah, that is way more important to stand by who you are as a Christian, as a follower of God, than it is to bow down to the culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like, some people think in the Christianity that you have to be like the culture to reach the culture. And I believe you have to stand out from the culture to reach the culture. Everybody sees the culture and everybody knows what the culture is. And you know what everybody really wants? Is something unique, something different.
Mm-hmm.
And the weird part is, as Christians, especially teen Christians, they decide they want to be different so they look like the culture instead of like a Christ. And then because you want to be different,
You look like everybody.
you look like everybody else, and you have no chance of impacting anybody's life because nobody wants
The same thing.
the same thing. Everybody's looking for something different, and that to me is so appealing about Christianity and about being in this church, is that I don't have to be like the world. I can be like Christ, and because I can be like Christ, I can lead others to be like him. And it's so much more fulfilling to not be like the culture. I mean, I look outside and I look at how everybody's dressed, and everybody's dressed the same. I look how everybody wants, that car, that thing, that position, and it's so enslaving to just want what everybody else wants. How about what does God want? And I'm going to do that. And that is so freeing. It's so satisfying as a Christian to just follow God. And here's the kicker. You do that for a long period of time, and people actually want to follow you. You lead by who you are. And if you are a person that loves God and follows God, and then people see that, you know what they want to do? They want to follow you. How come you do that? How is it easy for you to do this? How hard is it for you? And they ask you questions, and they want to follow you. But they follow you because you've been leading yourself, and you've been leading yourself with the right example, or as their example. And if you look at 2 Timothy, when Paul tells Timothy, let no man despise thy youth, but be an example thou to the believers, that's what he's talking about. You want somebody, as a teenager, do you want people to follow you, to look at you not like a kid? If you are their example, they will follow you. And that is important. That is, I think, so important, especially here, why he was able to lead after all this, because he was still that example. Now let's go to our last question.
The last question.
I think, Priscilla, you haven't said anything, so this is going to go for you.
Okay.
Oh, great.
Tag, Miss Priscilla. Ready? How do you view a leader that leads as the example?
How do I view them?
Yeah.
In high esteem.
Good answer.
Okay.
That's how I view them.
Elaborate a little bit more. Like, what attracts you to a leader that is the right example, and vice versa? What do you despise about a person that is not the right example that you still have to follow because of a position or something?
I would have to think about it.
Tag.
So, Bible verse. Here we go. 1 Timothy 4:12.
Go ahead.
Okay. So for the teens in Sunday school that I teach, you guys know I've said this verse many, many times before, and I truly believe it to this day. And hopefully you were paying attention. But 1 Timothy 4:12, let no man despise thy youth. That's important. My dad tells me this verse even till today, and it's stuck to me, and it's very important. But be thou an example of the believers in word, in conversation, in charity, in spirit, in faith, in purity. So, of course, the whole verse is important. But if we take out let no man despise that youth, that's kind of crucial, especially for teenagers, because it's like saying, don't let no one, say you can't be an example because of your age, because you're 14, 16, I'm 26, you're
33. Yes, sir.
Young, or some, 50-year-old, 60-year-old. Let no one think that you can't be an example. You can be an example as a teenager. Doesn't matter how old you are, as long as you're following in God's footsteps, you're following in His will. You can be an example to adult people. Me at 26, I've been humbled before by little kids, even, that maybe they do an act of selfishness or something, and then I look at that and I'm like, wow, I should be like that. That's something I need to work on in my life or something. Or a teenager, they do something that I'd like, I should have done that, Or before when I used to see, because I learned that here. I learned a few things here.
Good.
When women used to carry boxes, I'd be like, wow, she's a strong woman. But no, that's not it. I'm supposed to go and help. It's small things like that.
Wow, you're strong.
Do you work out? Where?
Keep
Where
up
do you
the good
work out?
work.
Yeah.
Put your back into it.
moral applause. But yeah, I mean, you know, there's things that you can learn even at an older age from younger people. So you can be a leader at any age is basically what it's saying. You don't have to be a specific age to be a leader, so long as you are being led by God.
So now, do you have time to think about it?
Time to think about number 5.
How do you view a leader that leads as the example and vice versa?
Okay, let me think about it for a second. Pastor keeps texting me.
Sorry.
Okay. In what sense?
Any sense. So like your boss at work, or the person that you like to, like your Sunday school teacher, or a governor, you know, a leader, a person that is in leadership. What attracts you, or what is so attractive about a person that leads with his example?
Well, I don't know. I
vice
try to
versa.
be careful with that, because I try to be careful with not putting too much of my faith. And maybe that sounds wrong, but the Bible does say we're supposed to be like Christ, not somebody else. So, I mean, as a leader, you're supposed to point other people to Christ. So I feel like I appreciate that from our pastors, that they're like, follow me as I follow Christ. So they emphasize Christ. So I think that that's the important key. Because even if you're in the Christian world, there's always going to be leaders that fail. And sometimes when you put too much faith in them, you're like, well, you know, he acted like such a good Christian, and then look at what he did. And then, you know, and then you decide to leave because they did. So I feel like, you know, you got to put your faith in the right thing, first of all.
Correct.
Maybe that didn't answer your question
No, it
that
didn't.
much.
Not
I'm
at all.
sorry.
Not at all.
It was still good though.
It was a
We
good
can
answer.
learn something
Yeah, we
from
learned
that,
something.
always.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, but I mean, people around us, especially here at church, are always leading by example. So there's a lot of good examples here to follow.
Yes. Yes. Well, me, as my experience in my life, I've had plenty of leaders that I had to follow: military, school, college, anywhere. But the those who lead with their example, or as who they are easy to follow. And those that don't lead with their example, they just lead from a position, those are very hard to follow. Now, if you're a follower of these people, you are to follow them. It doesn't matter what their example is, right? So if my boss is not the right kind of boss, I can't just disobey him because he's not the right leader. I have to follow what he says. Does that make sense? Like it doesn't change the fact of my obedience or my respect towards that position. But when a person is actually a person who has the right example, who leads from, I've done this, I know what you're going through, I understand, or I would do this if I had to, but it's your turn, so you have to do this. That kind of person, it's really easy to follow them and to believe what they say. When you're not a leader that leads with with a life of example, you turn people off, and they hate serving with you. They hate following you. Every time you say, "Hey, go clean that," they look at you and they're like, "Oh, if you weren't in that position, I would just punch you in the face." You know, like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like you get all this like weird feelings, and you have to, as a Christian, you have to look to God and say, Lord, please help me to follow right, because it's so tough with this person. So as a leader, if you have the right example, people will want to follow you. They'll want to be part of your team. They'll want to do what you ask them to do, even if it's lame, like go clean that toilet. You don't like what she asked you to do, but you like who you're doing it for, and then therefore you do it. So I think when you lead with that example, that's what happens to your followers. They want to follow. They want to move forward. So,
Which also that reminds me, a lot of people say of Pastor Chappell, like he witnesses to a lot of people, and sometimes they don't always get saved, but they say, I don't believe that, but I believe that you believe it. So that's also a way, like if you keep living your life like that, people eventually are going to end up believing the same thing you do.
yeah, correct. I mean, that's right. And that's part of leadership. Leadership is It's not a position. It's who you are and how you can help others get to where they need to get, right? All right. So next couple of weeks, we'll keep working on these lessons of leadership. Hopefully you guys are learning something. And we will be back next week for another Spanish Teen Bible study.
Amen.
Amen. All right. Thank you
Bye.
guys. Have a good
everyone.
one.